Hello, welcome to the morning news. Latin America continues to mourn the loss of one of the region's greatest writers and an influential figure, the political chef to the left. Uruguayan Eduardo Galleano passed away Monday at the age of 74. Author of numerous works, he is perhaps best remembered for his 1971 book, The Open Veins of Latin America, which is considered one of the seminal texts outlining the history of exploitation that shaped the continent. The book rose to popularity again in 2009 when former Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez gave it to U.S. President Barack Obama at the Summit of the Americas. Many governments paid homage to the author, including Bolivia, whose President Evo Morales gave condolences.
On behalf of the Bolivian people, I express our condolences for the loss of our brother, Eduardo Galleano. Not only Bolivia, not only Latin America, but the world loses one of its most important figures. The world loses a master of decolonization and of the liberation of our nations. His messages, his writing, oriented towards preventing the economic plundering of Latin America in particular, his messages oriented towards the new generations to defend the dignity and the sovereignty of our nations.
Among the nations to mourn the loss of Galleano was Venezuela, where the 13th anniversary of the restoration of democracy in the popular uprising against the 2002 coup was also commemorated. Preparations were made as part of events to mark the defeat of the short-lived coup, which kidnapped former President Hugo Chavez and looked to establish a dictatorship under an opposition-led coalition. A giant 1,200-meter-long flag made by artists, popular singers, and activists across all 24 Venezuelan states was unfurled before the official ceremony began. President Nicolás Maduro said the historic event signaled a turning point to the entire region.
Así que hace 13 años.
13 years ago today, our people took to the streets in a civil-military union. We were not only recovering, not only saving the Constitution, the life of Commander Hugo Chavez, we were rising from the ashes of fascism, guaranteeing a new era of unity, an awakening of Latin America and the Caribbean that was just beginning to emerge on the horizon.
Chilean President Michelle Bachelet, who missed the summit due to the recent flood in the country's north, signed a law Monday that recognized civil unions for both same-sex and heterosexual couples. A bill was first introduced in 2003. An estimated 2 million couples are thought to benefit from his new law that was praised by LGBT advocates, even though it stops short of extending full marriage rights. The growing number of corruption scandals for the government of President Enrique Peña Nieto has prompted calls for the revocation of his powers. Our correspondent Clayton Khan has more from Mexico City.
Here in Mexico City, artists, activists, and even politicians have announced the launch of a campaign for the revocation of governing powers of Mexico's President Enrique Peña Nieto.
Currently, Mexico is living a critical situation of impunity and corruption. As if we return to previous times of alternating politicians, the steps previously taken are being retraced, and although there are many political actors who have been contributed to this frank decline, we know that this has clearly been personified in the figure of Enrique Peña Nieto.
In recent months, the administration of Peña Nieto has been plagued by accusations of corruption and abuse of power, with officials entangled in scandals of using public funds for private use. However, the leader admits that the problem is systemic.
Corruption in Mexico, as I have reiterated in different spaces, is a structural problem that we all must confront. And although there have been different measures taken in the last several years, the population's perception has not improved in this country.
Analysts participating in the campaign to remove Peña Nieto's governing powers agree with the president's declaration, yet argue that the political class inherits seats of political power through a so-called corporatist system.
Mexican society is like a pyramid, and at the base is the majority of the poor, and in the top there are only a few privileged, and those privileged either not for their work or efforts, but rather as a consequence of the existing political corruption in Mexico.
Although Peña Nieto named a new official to head the country's Secretariat of Public Functions to investigate allegations of political corruption, new scandals continue to emerge with growing widespread indignation. Clayton Khan, teleSUR, Mexico City.
The race for U.S. president is heating up with a Florida Republican announcing his campaign Monday. Senator Marco Rubio officially entered the 2016 U.S. presidential race at a campaign launch in Miami. The 43-year-old right-wing congressman, who is a vocal opponent of progressive Latin American governments, joined Senators Ted Cruz and Ben Poole in announcing their candidacies for the Republican ticket. Some predict that up to 20 Republicans could contend for their nomination. Also in the United States, a federal judge sentenced 4 former security guards for the private security Blackwater to long prison terms for murder of more than a dozen unarmed Iraqis in 2007. Nicholas Layton was sentenced to life in prison, while the 3 other guards were given 30 years each. The 4 guards opened fire on unarmed Iraqi civilians, killing 14 and injuring at least 17 others. Iraq continues to deal with violence as Islamic State extremists breached the security perimeter around Beirut oil refinery, the largest one in the country. It had been under siege for 5 months after security forces drove the militants out of the nearby town of Beirut. The extremists who have killed thousands since tearing through Iraq in 2014 surrounded the complex once again in Minsk before being repelled by local security forces. The current and former president of the world's second-largest soccer clubs are facing possible jail time for skirting Spain's tax law in order to buy the services of a Brazilian star. The Spanish state's prosecutor has asked that Barcelona FC president Josep Bartomeu and his predecessor Sandro Rosell face jail time for their role in an alleged tax fraud scheme when the club signed Brazil for Neymar. They are accused of defrauding some $13.8 million in taxes between 2011 and 2014 by underreporting the real cost of the deal to buy the Brazilian by $40 million. State prosecutors are also requesting the club be put on trial. More on this on telesurtv.net/English. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.